Hello everybody, welcome back to the layout. In this video I'm gonna show some of the work I've been doing on the quay walls in the harbour area. So there are several sites where I want to place quay walls. So the first one is the site here behind where the dock will be placed. So that will get its own quay wall. And then there's this little curve from where the dock is to the rolling drawbridge. And then there is the side between the rolling drawbridge and where the lift bridge will be. That will get a quay wall. And then if we move on to the other side, along this entire side, also again between where the lift bridge will be here to where the rolling drawbridge is, there will be a wall. And then there's a little segment here that will also get a wall. So there's several places where I want to place quay walls. So for the wall below the dock, I've used this wall from Nock. It's made from foam, it's hard foam, rather thick as you can see. But I like the texture quite a bit. And so the only thing I did was, and this is the piece that goes below the dock, so the only thing I did was I cut it to length and to proper height, and I gave it some weathering. I hope you can see the weathering. So this will go below the dock. So this is the quay wall behind the dock in place. Once the dock is placed in front of it, you won't see a lot of it, but whatever it is that you see through the dock, I think it should look nice, and in this way I think it's quite good. So I'm quite happy with that. So the other thing I did was I patched up this piece of rock here, so a little bit of painting and dry brushing to give it the same appearance as the rest. And then also another thing that I did was I extended the piece of rock with this little bit here, and also here I had to do a little bit of painting and dry brushing to give it the same appearance, and so I think that turned out quite well. And then next to that there will be another piece of quay wall, and to support that, as you can see, I have glued a couple of pieces of wood in place, and I've also glued a thin strip of foam on the base, and the quay wall will be resting on this. Now these pieces of wood I have attached only to the top, so only to this plywood here, and it's not glued to the base here. And the reason for that is that this base here is a hatch that I can open, and so when I open the hatch I want this and the quay wall to stay in place. So let me show you that. So this is what I've been making as a quay wall for this part here. And let me show you how it then would work if I open the hatch. So this is what it looks like when I've opened the hatch. And so the idea is that once I have this glued to the supports, then that will stay in place. And once I close the hatch again, it will rest on this thin strip of foam. So let me also turn it around, and you can see how the quay wall on this side sits. So that's not attached to the base either. So this will then always allow me to have access to the back part of the layout. So let me show you how I'm making the quay walls. This one I've already shown you. and the other one, this is the one that goes to the other side, that will look like this. And both of them are made from these foam sheets. If I turn it around, you can see where they're coming from. This was included in a kit with tunnel lining material. So those are sheets of foam 1/2 centimeter in thickness. And for this key wall I've cut out some strips like these. And then these strips, from these strips I'm cutting off pieces of about 1.5 centimeter in length. So these strips are 1 centimeter in thickness. And then so I'm getting pieces of 1 by 1.5 centimeters, which I glue together like this. I've also added some texture to this wall. Let me zoom in a bit. And that texture I have obtained by taking some tin foil, making a ball out of it, and I'm just rubbing it over the foam like this, and then I get this texture. So the other wall is also made from the same sheets of foam. Also this one has the same texture, but for that one I applied the texture to the sheet prior to cutting it out. So I'm cutting out small pieces from this sheet and then gluing it together like this. And then so I'm getting a wall looking like this. So I finished gluing together the key walls. So it's 3 pieces. And as you can see, I've also started painting them. So the idea is to model granite rock. And to get that effect, I have given the walls a base coat of a light grayish color. So if I zoom in, I think it's quite clear to see that the texture is also very nicely preserved. And then what I will do is, and I've tried it out on this piece here, is I will dry brush different colors on to mimic the appearance of granite rock. So it's not really dry brushing, it's sort of using a hard brush and dabbing on different spots of different colors. And so the colors I've been using are these ones. So it's ochre, ice yellow, clear red, and then basalt gray. And I think the overall effect is quite good. And so I think for this part, for this key wall, I'm gonna leave it like this. Quite happy with this. So I have the key walls on this side of the lake in place. So let me just show you what it looks like. So this part goes all the way to the rolling drawbridge over there. And then there is a little piece around the corner there. And then I've also glued this little piece in place as well. So the next thing to do is to make the key walls along this side. And as you can see, I have already cut out the pieces to length. And so now I'll glue all of this together, give it a base coat of paint, do the weathering, and then I will have to fill in these gaps here. And then there will have to be a key wall here as well against this side. And the key wall that I will be putting there will be the same as this here. So that will be the next step. So I've given these key walls a base coat of grey primer, and then on top of that I have painted a dark old rust color, and it's a little bit patchy, so some of the grey base color is coming through, which was intended. And so then the next thing I want to do is I want to try to paint it in a similar way as I've done with the rolling drawbridge. So I'm going to spray the same color on this, but very, very lightly, so that a lot of the rust is coming through. At least that's the intention. So that's what I'll try. So here are the key walls all painted and weathered. After the coat of dark brownish rust color, I've given them a light spray of a teal-like color, which is the same color that I've used on the rolling drawbridge. And you can see it's really a thin layer, just a very light spray. And then after that I used two colors by MIG, which are these two. So it's this one is called Rust Tracks, and this one is called Medium Rust. And so I have dry brushed both of those colors on to give the walls an appearance of heavy rusting. So you can see, especially in the bottom part, I've put a lot of rust, because that's typically where the water will be. So quite happy with this result. I think it looks really realistic. So I've glued in place the lower part of the key wall on this side as well. And as you can also see, I have filled in the space behind the wall with blue polystyrene foam. And the idea is to have a wooden deck on top of that. As you can see, I've also glued in place smaller blocks of the same foam in the back. Those are meant as supports for the upper part of the key wall. And for the upper part of the key wall, I will be modeling that in the same way as I've done this wall here. So a similar wall will go all along the upper part on this side. Alright, so I finished the upper part of the key wall on this side as well. So I finished the painting and the weathering, and I have glued it in place. And as you can see in this corner over here, I also started laying down the deck. So this is made from balsa wood, which I stained with a grey brownish wash. So I'm going to finish that all along this side here, and then the key walls are done. Just to quickly show you how I prepare the wood for the deck. So I have these sheets of balsa wood, from which I cut strips like these. And then each of these strips I'm cutting down into smaller strips like these. And so these will be my planks for the deck. And then the wash or the stain, I'm doing like this. So I have this mixture here. It's very watery. It's very thin, as you can see. And I just let the strips of balsa wood soak into that. Take them out, let them dry, and then I can glue them in place. Alright, so the deck is glued in place as well along this side. And that means that I have finished all of the quay walls on either side of the lake. So there is a project finished